They are saying goodbye, but they are doing it in style. Rockers, Sum 41 on their farewell tour, and you know who got to say hello to the lead singer? That's the one and only Lindsay Dunn. Hello.
Hello to you.
I don't know why we need to do this.
I don't know, but it's now what we're doing.
We just did a quick Google search, Sum 41. Every single track on here, I think I was rocking out to way back in the day.
Yeah, they're all bangers. I don't know if people still say that, but they were huge hits. They're still played across so many radio stations, and they've even released a new album that's doing really well. It's their final album, which I know when people saw that, they heard that, they were really upset about it. But
yes,
it's doing great. It's a double album called Heaven and Hell, which kind of has a lot of their earlier punk rock, but then a lot of just rock and different tunes on it. And people are they're back in love with Sum 41, or they're just rediscovering them, or they're discovering them for the first time, which is great because they're Canadian.
Very good, right? Yeah. So you spoke with the lead singer. Were you surprised at because as we've been following their career for some time, they've matured, right? Like their style is different, the type of music, as you said, even, you know, they're getting little different pieces of genres. Did they say anything that was interesting to you that stuck out? It
was so interesting. It was actually 15 minutes I got with the lead singer, Derek, and I wish we could air it all, but we don't have enough time in the show. Eventually, I think we'll put it all online, but the fact that they released this final album, asked about the difficulties of that moment. He said he really struggled with it, going back and forth, like, what am I going to do after Sum 41? But he says it's just felt like it was the right time. But also, they announced the final tour right after. And almost all of the shows, they sold out, including the final tour stop will be here in Toronto in January. It's sold out, so they had to add another one, and it just keeps going. And that's at Scotiabank Arena. It's not like it's like a
teeny tiny
thing. It's huge, and you know there's such a demand for them to even add a third and fourth show. But I just asked him, what was it like to get the reaction of like this overpouring of love? Because he said he wasn't even sure how people would react to the final tour and the final album. Here's what he had to say.
It's been pretty wild, to be honest. I don't think you ever get used to, I don't ever get used to anything, and I never take anything for granted. So I never expect anything. And I don't expect the worst, but I just kind of go in as a blank slate. Every time we do an album, every time we put on a tour, you just never know. Things change. There's other stuff going on in people's lives. You just never know what's going to happen with anything. So when it does work out, and especially as well as everything's going, it's a huge surprise. And I'm just grateful for it all. It's really exciting.
It is really exciting. It's really exciting for fans. As you mentioned, having to add another show to fill Scotiabank Arena is a big deal. No doubt when they announced this tour, there were probably a lot of voices saying, you should do it this way, maybe you want to think about this. How do they juggle all of that?
I was being cheeky. I actually asked him, hey, did you consult with Elton John about a farewell tour? Right. Because we all know he's still touring 20, 30 years after saying it was his final tour. And he laughed and said no, but he actually did talk to some people in the band. He also spoke to some artists from NoFX and that's Elton John's band, just about how they handle that emotion when you go on a final tour, or supposed to be an actual final tour. He says this is it for Sum 41, but that emotions of when you're going to go on stage and visualizing going on Toronto, your hometown stage, for the last time, because it's been 27 years. Wow. This is all they've known, and they've been, it's cliche to say, but so many people's soundtracks to their lives, and they've had so many moments. They were Grammy nominated, and I asked him about that because he also has a memoir coming out. He said that was such a shock to them all. It was a song that he had to fight to get on that album back in the day, and they didn't think it was going to happen. But it's just now they're able to do it on their own terms, because that is something, we've spoken about other artists that they don't get to have the choice that, hey, I'm going to call it a career right now with this.
Right.
They're basically told, you're done.
You're done, yeah.
And so here's what he had to say about them actually being able to go out on their own terms.
In the earlier days, people would write us off a little bit early, early in our career, as a flash in the pan, like every new band. It's always the new artist thing, right? You'll be gone next year kind of thing. And I think especially with the kind of music that we played, which felt at the time, people thought that was kind of just young music, and it was a passing trend of pop punk or whatever people were. They weren't even calling it pop punk in those days. But but I always used to think, we'll be around as long as we say we're around. Nobody else is going to write our own story. And then here we are, almost 30 years later, and we are writing our story.
I love that. Writing your own story. going out with a bang. That's gonna be. Are you gonna go, by the way?
Yeah, I'm probably going to take you next January. There's 2
I'm in.
shows. Even, you know, one of our producers, Laura, we'll all be in the front row,
You're
just
in,
living our
Laura?
best life. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're in. We'll
By
be
the way,
living our
we're
best
going.
life. Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay.
Look it off.
More with Lindsay tonight. City News at 5 and 6. Thank you.
Thanks for having
Sing
me.
us out.
No, I'm going to
Nope,
leave
we
that
don't
all up
want
to
that.
you.
Nope.
You got the voice of an angel.
We'll leave it to Derek. Okay.